Testing, 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 1, 2, 3. All right, everyone, welcome back to another Friday night live stream here at Christ-Centered Ironworks. So good to have you in the shop this evening. Hopefully everybody's had a great day and a great week and getting ready to be prepared for a great weekend. Anyway, so this evening we're going to be working on a hardy tool for the anvil. That's the main project. I have the illustrious Thomas Goodymoot, the hand model. Say hi, Thomas. So he's here with me this evening. We're going to be working on this hardy tool for Olga, and then at next week's live stream I'll be giving away my old hardy tool that I've used for about 3 or 4 years now. So I'll actually be giving that away in the next live stream at our giveaway live stream, where we also will be giving away yet another gas forge, because this is the year of the forge, of course, and another guillotine tool. So be sure to check out that stream. And I believe, Jessica, you got that all set up, don't you?
Yep, sure do. It's in 2 weeks. It is on March the 18th.
All right.
Yep.
Go sit back down, Thomas.
Yes, master.
We kid like this all the time. 3 days a week, we kid like this all the time. No, it's good. Don't be worried. Don't be sissies. Oh, who do we have in the house this evening, Jess?
Let's
Or the
see.
forge, I should say.
Yes, Mr. Coffee says hello. Good evening.
Hello,
We
Mr.
have-
Coffee. Hope you're doing better and better, bro.
We also have Matt Wyatt, Tim O'Connor, Robert Launis.
Hello, hello. Good to have you.
We also have Eric Eastmead as a bellows boy.
Thank you, Eric. Congratulations on being a bellows boy.
He also mentioned it's too dang cold up there where y'all live.
Ah, it's not that bad. It was 36 today.
Yeah.
That ain't
Toasty.
bad. As you can see, I'm in a shirt and bibs and a Usurka, but whatever. It's not bad. It's only going to be like 20 tonight. That's not bad.
Better than the last night. It got down to -5.
See here. Thohag says, I've been wondering, is there a Discord server here?
Is there a what?
Discord server.
Is there a Discord server? No, there is not. Mainly because I don't want to have to run it. There may be a Discord server at some point, as long as I might have other people run it for me, though. But that would be pretty cool. I will tell you where there is a Discord server. There's a nice Discord server over at Yamez at Island Metal Forge. They've got a great Discord over there that they use on Sunday mornings. It is around 10 o'clock. They do the Blacksmith church, and that is it's a fun time. And Discord's a pretty neat, powerful thing, because you can share photos and some video, and you can have a more extensive chat while live chats are going on, which is pretty cool. It kind of enriches things. But yeah, I've got too much other things on my plate to really try to pursue in setting that up. But yeah, no Discord as of yet, but we'll see.
Preconia says, hi, Jessica and Roy. I am glad that I can join to this live and listen to something different from war. Greetings from Poland.
Greetings, and our thoughts and prayers are with you, and I'm glad that we could be here and bring you some entertainment and some much needed diversion from the current world events.
Keith
Fun
says,
fact, this is actually from the Ukraine, this hat here. All the way, bought it specifically because, a couple years ago,
yeah,
a few years ago, I had a Usurka, and the Usurka that I had got tore up and in the wash, and then so I was like, okay, I'm getting another one, and I didn't want any of the ones here from the United States because they're all fake. So I wanted to get the real ones, and this thing will make your head sweat on a mild degree day. So if it's like 32 degrees and up, you don't want to be wearing this thing because your nugget is cooking. So hello all the way from the United States, by the way. Glad you could join us. What else, Jess?
Possum Sausage says, going to be 70 tomorrow here in God's country, aka Indiana.
Ugh. You can keep it. Because you know why? In a few months, when we're just hitting 70 degrees, you all will be in the 90s, so you can keep it.
Thank you, Athol Ironworks, for the $10 super chat. He
Thank
says,
you.
Hello, folks. Thanks for the live stream. Hope this helps with the giveaways.
Thank you. It most certainly will. Thank you very much for that. So, let's go into the sales portion of this little shindig. Got to get it out there right up front, and then we'll actually get into forging on this Hardy here. So you all know about, or if you don't know about, go to camera number 2, Jess.
All right.
The guillotine tool that we have for sale now over at our website, blacksmithingblanks.com. He can't get his...
Yeah.
So we are now offering these Uncle Buck Forge guillotine tools, and we are making them in-house here right at the shop. And they come with one die. These C-frame guillotine toolkits, they're $75, and you just have to weld them together yourself, and they come they come shipped to you in a flat rate box anywhere here in the United States and abroad. Depending on where you're at abroad, they might come in a different box or whatever. But yeah, we do flat rate shipping on these to keep the cost down, and it's a pretty nice tool for $75. And I've got a tutorial on how to make this as well. But we've just now recently done another guillotine tool from Uncle Buck's Forge. That is another guillotine toolkit that we can offer now at a slightly reduced rate. This one will be for $50. It'll come with one die, 7-inch by 1/2-inch die. The side pieces to put it together, that's what the die slides in, is these little side pieces. A 1-inch Hardy stem that can be cut down to fit your Hardy size, or you can weld on it if you need to take and thicken it up to fit your own Hardy size there. But this particular guillotine tool is an arch frame guillotine tool. Hopefully they can see that just fine, Jess. Can they?
Yep, sure can.
Yeah, so it's an arch frame guillotine tool, much like, stay right there, just like that. Very similar to this one. This one's a little bit on the thicker side. These are a little on the thinner side. We wanted to offer a cheaper option even yet. And again, this is a weld together kit. And I believe we have, last time I counted, we have 15 right now completely available that would ship out Monday morning for you. So if anybody is interested in that, you could go check that out. Where, Thomas?
blacksmithingblanks.com.
There we go.
See here.
All right, enough of me shilling my own product there.
Possum Sausage says, what alloy are the dies?
Oh, great question. Somebody had to ask it. The alloys of the dies, it's just regular mild steel. And I do have intentions eventually to take and offer higher carbon material, like some 4140 potentially, or maybe even some 1045 or something like that. But right now, steel cost is insane. It's insane, and so I wouldn't be able to offer the toolkit at a price that wouldn't feel like, geez, this guy's trying to stick it to me, because all the cost would end up being in just the die itself. It's ridiculous, the price per foot right now, especially when it comes to high carbon steel material. If you all have had to buy anything here recently, you'll know what I'm talking about. Just the mild steel die itself on our much larger kit, this on the C-frame here, this is 5/8 inch thick by 1.5 inch wide. Just this die on a 20-foot long bar. The 20-foot long bar of mild steel is over $200 right now for us to buy brand new. And so it's economies of scale. We have to make a bunch of these and cut them up and put very little work into them if we can even make some small resemblance of profit off of them. So when it comes to that, it's about double. It's about double that for high carbon material right now. So we're not ready to jump into that just yet. Hopefully those prices will fall just a little bit, and when they do, we'll buy up a whole bunch of high carbon die stock, and then we'll be able to offer that as a variant, or maybe the variant for the guillotine tools. So
Stephen
So keep an
Adams?
eye out there. Great question though, because I know I've been asked that a whole bunch, but yeah, it's just mild steel. And oh, you're gonna,
Go ahead.
can I continue? So it's just mild steel. A lot of people say, oh, that's not good enough or whatever. If we go to camera number 2, Jess.
All right.
On my other guillotine tool that I have, that I've had for about 7 years, you can see right here, those are all mild steel dies. This is the top one. Of course, you've got some mushrooming on the top there, but look at the die itself. Nothing wrong with that die. Can they see that okay?
Yeah. Yep. Looks
Am I
good.
roughly in focus? Can they see that all right?
Yep.
So I've had this guillotine tool for 7 years, and that's all the more mushrooming it's done. I haven't dressed it, and yeah, you bring hot steel to cold dies, and they last forever. And even with the mild steel, the only one I've done any dressing to in the 7 years that I've had it is this butcher die here, which there's plenty enough material, even in our toolkits, that you can always just regrind if you need to. But it develops a little saddle in the middle. I can't really show it on camera, but it develops a little holler in the middle because it's a thinner edge for mild steel. But still perfectly usable on things like hammerheads and whatnots. So yes, mild steel is perfectly good enough for things like that. And plus, if you have a mishit, someone like we're going to be doing today, we're going to be using, hopefully not a mishit, but we're going to be doing some Smith & Striker on the actual guillotine tool that we offer over our website, blacksmithingblanks.com. If you were to have a mishit, you're not sending chunks of material anywhere. You know, the worst you're going to have is a rounded off corner that you either have to beat back into shape or grind off, right? So it's a great beginning option that is relativistically cheap right now. So there you go. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Okay.
We are on the main cam, right?
Yes.
Okay. Good. Continue. Questions, comments?
Stephen Adams says, what exactly are the guillotine tools used for?
Well, guillotine tools, basically a guillotine tool just holds a set of dies. People call them like, it's probably a trademarked name, Smith and Magicians, Blacksmith Helper. They've been called all, just regular guillotine. Basically, in a nutshell, it's to be able to hold two like dies above each other and keep them guided. So you can have a fuller on the bottom and a fuller on the top, and you can neck things down like you're going to see us do tonight with making the hardy stem for this, for the hardy hole on, for this actual hardy, hot cut hardy we're going to be working on. You could use it for tenons, for shouldering work, for cleaning up tenons. You can have swedges, different size swedges in it. You can grind it to where you can neck down pipe with it. You could use it for all sorts of different things. I've heard blade makers will even use them to put double troughs, those blood grooves or fullers down the center of a blade. You can do that with a guillotine tool as well, especially in the C-frame style that we offer there. That C-frame style, you go back to camera number 2, Jess.
Okay.
As you can see, it's open. You couldn't do this with the arch frame style, but you could run something in line like this and put a fuller down the center of it. Can they see that okay?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So you can run that in line and put a fuller down something, or a double fuller on top and bottom, as well as come in here and fuller it like so. Consequently, this is a piece of 1 1/4 inch, or I think 1 inch and probably 3/8, close to 1 3/8 inches. Let me hold this out here. It's just a touch over 1 1/4 inch stock, square 1045 that we're going to be working on tonight. And so you can see quite the range you can fit. You can fit quite a piece of big piece of steel in here and still work it, just like so. So there you go. Get that out of the way.
Let's see here. Tim
All right.
O'Connor says, won't tool steel lose its hardness anyway?
Will tool steel? Mm-hmm. The only time tool steel is going to take and lose its hardness is if you get it above the temper range that you've had your piece of tool steel at. So for instance, let me give an example. If say 1045, I'm not going to go into hardness because I ain't got a chart in front of me. Say you tempered your 1045 and say you put it in the oven and your dies and you ran it at 500 degrees for 4 hours or whatever. It's now tempered at that. So you've hardened the piece, then you drew back the brittleness out of the piece. You drew a temper on it to about 500 degrees. Well, if that die gets up to 600, 700, 800 degrees, it is now softening. It's drawing that temper even more, right? So as long as you keep it under that 500 degrees where you're at, you're golden. It's good. Generally speaking, though, with dies, any of them, mild steel or guillotine tools, you want to pull them out from time to time, just like if you're using hot punches or chisels, and you want to dip them off and cool them. You don't want them to turn red. If your die's turning dark red, you've done lost it. You don't want to do anything anywhere near that because you're over 1200 degrees at that point. So you do want to cool the dies periodically. You have to do that with mild steel, and you have to do that with high carbon steel dies. So you bring really hot material to cold dies, and you're good. Whether you're using mild steel or whether you're using 4140 or 5160 or 1045 or 1030 or any of the other condenstions of that. Let me get this hot because this is going to take a while to heat up. Let's go to camera number 2, Jess. I'm going to show it off. So again, I'm using a 6-inch length of by 1.25 inch square piece of 1045C, and that's what I'm going to be making my hot cut hardy from. Reason for the length is I want to squat this down and then sharpen it out. So I need to be able to create a nice big shoulder on my hardy tool. So as you see, I've got a shoulder around that piece there. That's what I want to be able to create on this. I didn't quite have enough on this one, so I want to leave myself a little extra. So this is going to get short and squat, and then I'm going to draw out the actual blade on it. So I've got this marked up from the bottom about 2.5 inches or so. My friends from across the pond, if you could add the metric somewhere in the chat, that would be great. That way I don't have to do maths on camera. So I'm going to get this in and get it hot while we're busy talking and continuing to jaw on here.
Aimless Adventure says, what does the C mean in 1045C?
Carbon. C, carbon.
Wayne Heinz, are you saying the dies don't need to be preheated? Smiley face.
Actually, I take that back. I've been told that it was carbon, but it's also, it can also stand in for cold worked as well. Not cold finished, but cold worked. This is 1045 CF, cold finished bar. So just something to keep in mind. It's good to look up the designators on steel. Main point is it's 1045. It's a 10 series steel.
Metal Blueberry says, can we purchase more metal to make more dies for the guillotine toolkit?
Yes, you can. We need to create an actual specific listing for that. We've had a couple orders come in where somebody wanted an extra die, and then we had to make up an extra, make up a special listing for them. So if you wanted to get one, and we don't have the listing made yet for extra dies, but if you wanted one with extra dies, you can get with us and direct message Jessica, and she'll get you all set up there.
Yep. Dusty Old Hat says, for someone just getting started, what would be the first 2 to 3 hardy tools you would recommend?
A hot cut hardy, a radius block. We can go to camera number 2. I'll show these off.
Okay.
So a hot cut hardy, that's tool number 1, pretty much, right off the gate. Tool number 2 I would recommend is a radius block. This is just a small block that goes in the anvil. Find the right way, the way it fits here. So this way it gives you different radius options and a much smaller face to work across. This is very, very handy, especially if you're going to do some sort of edge work on something where you don't want to ding up the face of your anvil. You could hit it up here. Very, very handy tool. So that's tool number 2. Those 2 right there. And then finally tool number 3, a bick or a bickern. Slightly a little different thing. But this is basically a cone mandrel that goes into the hardy. It's to act like a horn, but vertically. This makes it a lot easier to take and look at things like eyes for fire pokers and stuff like that, and make sure that you have them concentric and round. So those are my first 3 hardy tools I would suggest if you're just getting into it. If you're really green and you're just really getting into it, I'd suggest that you purchase them before you make them. You can always make your own versions of them later and sell off the ones you purchased for probably about the same, as long as you didn't destroy them, for about the same purchase price as you purchased them. Blacksmith tools hold value. So
Gordon Farmer says he's going to be getting back into metalworking soon. Not smithing as much, but going to work with some aluminum.
Huh?
Gordon Farmer said he's going to get back into working with some aluminum soon.
Yeah, cool. Hopefully it goes well for him.
Tim O'Connor says, are you going to sell butcher's tenoning dies cut off for the guillotine later down the road? So I guess talk about pre-made.
It's something I've thought about. I know I don't have to yell. It is something that I have thought about. The problem with that is labor, right? There's labor involved. So if I'm grinding dies, if I'm grinding the butcher dies, I'm doing all that, it's all economies of scale. I have to be set up for it. I have to have fixtures for it to make it cost effective. Otherwise, that die is going to cost you $50 to buy. That doesn't make sense, right? That just doesn't make sense when you're like, I could grind that myself. Well, of course you could, but you're paying me to grind that. Or you're paying somebody I'm having helping me, like Thomas, the hand model. You're paying for those hands, right? So that's the difficult part, is striking that balance, right? Is finding that balance of, offering good options, but at a fair price that everybody can, that people can afford, and it not feel like, gee whiz, he's raking me over the coals here, right? Mm-hmm. And that's a hard balance to strike with that. So maybe in the future, but not right now, because I don't see a way of doing it. Just getting set up with it, I don't see a way of doing it economically that you couldn't otherwise do yourself. You want a pair of butcher dies? Just cut it and grind butchers on it. Mm-hmm. It's not super hard to do. You want 3/8 fullers? Grind 3/8 fullers on the end. Takes you 10 minutes with a flat disc on an angle grinder, and you've saved yourself $50 or something like that.
Troy says, why is he yelling at us? Back off the coffee, Roy.
Well, it's really close to me. Maybe you can crank me down a bit. I don't know. Is that even a possibility?
No, you just have to do it on your mic itself.
Yelling at you because I'm deaf, okay? I'm deaf.
Tim O'Connor says 50 wouldn't be too high, but I do it myself. LOL.
What's that?
Tim O'Connor said 50 would not be too high, but I do it myself. LOL.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, the interesting thing while we're waiting for this to heat up, I thought about putting out a video on this and talking about this a little bit about, it's something I've been reflecting on here lately with doing the CNC plasma cutting and offering all this with the guillotine tools and stuff. It's about economies of scale. And a lot of people don't understand that certain things, like for instance, like the Mr. Volcano gas forge, for example, the one that we're giving away right? One a month all this year on. If you look at it, Jess, can you rotate it? Can you rotate? Can they see anything there? Can they see in the background?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like that forge there. People say, how can they, like, $88, right? Like, must be a scam, or it must be cheap, or it must be chintzy. And again, where I say in my review video of it is that you couldn't build this forge for 88 bucks. That's 100% true. And the reason why is because it's economies of scale. They can go out and buy 10,000 foot of stainless steel tubing and get a cost break per linear inch or per linear foot on that stainless steel tube to make those tubes, burner tubes out of, more than you can if you had to go out and buy one 20-foot stick of stainless steel tubing, all to cut that much off the end of it. You bought the whole stick in order to cut that much off the end of it. Now, if you got a piece of black iron pipe rolling around the back of your truck and, and you're handy and you got a whole bunch of other scrap and junk pieces that you're going to pick and pull from, that's fine. You could probably build it for a lot cheaper, but you're not going to build that gas forge for the same price. Not going to happen. Same thing with the stainless steel. You have to buy tonnage, tons and tons of steel to get a break, to get any sort of price break on stuff like that. And so it's kind of like an economies of scale. Give you an example. I went and got a quote here recently from our place up here for steel. That's where I told you that one bar of steel cost $200. Well, I had a whole bunch of other things originally on a quote and had a quote with it as a part of a whole bunch of other steel, and the whole quote only came out to $475, and that was with 2 bars of steel in there. It's like, wait a second, how's that the case? Because I'm buying tonnage, I'm buying quantity, right? As where if you were trying to recreate the same exact thing, unless you have the scrap, just odds and ends bits on hand, you can't build it as cheaply as somebody who's manufacturing it, because they're doing that at economies of scale. So same thing with dies. Well, why don't you offer dies? Well, why don't you offer 5160 dies? Well, I have to be selling a ton of 5160 dies to get the price down to have the economies of scale. Do you get what I'm saying? That sort of thing. So it's a tricky thing to get in a business, especially like if you're out there and you're selling hooks and you're selling hooks and you're selling fire pokers and gadgets and gizmos and things like that, right, to the general public. You can make more money doing small things if you're quick and efficient, right? And so therefore there's a cost savings to the customer. But if you get one thing that you're not quick, you're not efficient at, and it takes you like all year to make this one thing, and you have to charge the same amount of hours, you can't. You got to have somebody who's like, uberishly rich to be able to pay you for that one item because it got you off your roll. So because it's custom, it's this one-off thing that you couldn't sell to anybody if you tried other than that one person. So that's why usually when somebody says like, oh, hey, how about this custom hot rod, right? With this custom paint job. Well, that's real great for that one person out there who wants a custom hot rod with a custom paint job that's done exactly the way that it's done. You're going to pay big money for that one thing versus buying any old car with factory paint off the production line. So that's a difficult balance to figure that out at first, but once you've got practice at it a little bit, it's not so terrifying, and you can actually start figuring out things of like, this product is worthwhile making and selling, this product is not worthwhile making and selling at scale. Because there's stuff, for instance, I would love to be able to offer like what Uncle Buck offered, which is those swedge blocks, right? That he was cutting out of 2-inch thick material. Sure. Would love to offer those. You know how much steel I would have to buy? You know how much steel, how many plates of 2-inch thick material I would have to buy to take and make it for anywhere close to what Uncle Buck was selling his for back in the day. Just not possible. He was fortunate enough that he was working for a company where he could cut it out of the wastage material that was going to go to the scrap anyhow. And he passed those savings along to us, the blacksmithing community.
Rigid Ironworks sent a $15 super chat and
Thank
says,
you.
Roy, do you still use your power hammer very much?
Yep, I do, but not very much. Power hammer in my shop gets used only when needed. So mainly I only use it when I'm making tooling for the most part. Yeah, that's basically it. I've used it a lot for making tooling for the fly press. I've used it a lot for making tooling for the anvil and other stuff that I've made, just to take the shoulder work off of the project. But yeah, it doesn't get used very much, not because it's broke. It's just I don't need to use it, and so therefore I don't like to just let it over there running all day. I don't invent reasons to use it. Let's just say that.
Tim O'Connor says, I would not want to stick that plate in your Jeep.
Say what?
He said he would not want to stick that 2-inch plate in the Jeep.
No. Maybe on top of the Jeep after I've got full coverage.
But now you got the truck.
Yeah. But now I got the truck, so. What else, Jess? Pretty quiet?
Here.
Everybody's like, get busy?
No. Athol Ironworks says, I've never done it before, but could you case harden the mild steel dies, or would it be too brittle?
Yep, you can case harden the mild steel dies. That's a perfect option. You're not going to get any brittleness with that. You're going to get a wear-resistant surface with the case hardening and a soft core. So that would be just fine. Cherry red's fairly cheap. I think it's $100 for a
big 3-pound
for a
tub.
big 3-pound bucket of it, and you need like a sprinkling of cherry red on stuff, just enough to coat the part.
A bucket would probably be enough to coat like nearly everything in the blacksmith shop.
Yeah, a whole bucket would be enough for me to coat all my tools in my shop at least 3 times. So,
Aimless Adventure says, what about toilet spoons? So far, this is the only place to get them, so does that make the price of toilet spoons go up?
Yes. And they go up even higher the more you talk about them.
Eric Stenzel says, beard is looking stellar, Roy.
Well, thank you. I moisturize.
Possum Sausage, that's as suspicious as signing over life insurance and a freak accident happening.
Yeah, freak accidents do happen from time to time after life insurance has been signed over.
See, Troy says, Roy, didn't you do a video on the Z-bar or a long bucking bar?
Yep, sure did. It's in my riveting series on YouTube.
It's quite riveting.
It is quite riveting, indeed. Thomas is over there making puns for funs.
Gordon Farmer says, Roy looks like a lumberjack with that beard, LOL.
Nah, it's just the plaid. It throws you off. I should have left the other blower hooked up. I just haven't been able to get quite the amount of airflow out of this one. This is going to be a slow evening of forging, folks, so be prepared to see me doing a whole lot of talking and brief moments of us forging.
So you guys can invoke a Roy rant or bring in your most deep blacksmithing questions that need answering.
Yeah, blacksmithing questions or Roy rants, sure. Why not?
Corey Shire says, Roy, I have a 1 1/4 inch hex rock or digging bar that would be good steel for hardy tools? And do you have any tips for reducing it to 3/4 inch hardy hole with only hand tools?
So if you're working with larger material, right, and you want to break it down for, again, smaller, you said a 3/4 inch hardy hole, and it's 1.25 inch rock bar hex, right? That's what he said. My biggest advice is to don't bite off more than you can chew. What I mean by that is, just like having an oversized piece of stock in a, say, power hammer dies or press dies, you want to take smaller bites of that material and work it out. You don't want to feed in the full Monty and then trying to draw all that out and down to size and stuff like that. You want to avoid that at all costs. And when you're drawing out a piece of material, the volume in the steel can actually stretch quite a bit more than you would think. So by the time you set a cube of material of that 1.25 inch, so you got like an 1.25 inch cube of material sitting on the anvil, that might draw out 3-4 inches long. And you probably don't even need all of that in order to make your hardy shank. So start with just half of that, or maybe 1/4 of that, and take a bite on the end and get that working down first, and then your metal has somewhere to go or flow to, and that'll make it a lot easier to undertake much bigger material. It's all about segregating that material that you want to work down from the main body mass of the steel. And so if you can do that, if you can segment out the work, the whole workload becomes easier. And you're about to see that on this here, because we're working this by hand. Yes, I have Thomas here helping me strike, but I could do this by myself as well. It'd just take a little bit longer, but efficiently wise, we would take small bites and work that small bite out, and then take another little small bite, and so on and so forth, and keep doing that until we get it down to the appropriate size we need to work on. You aren't a machine. You're not a power hammer, you're not a 50-ton press, so you've got to take a lot smaller steps, a lot smaller nibbles at larger stock than you would otherwise. But you'll find that to be true on if you start, say you're like, oh, my first power hammer is going to be a 25-pound little giant. You're going to find out real quick that 1-inch material maxes out a 25-pound little giant. Maxes it out. So you're going to get 2-inch material because you think you're going to hammer blanks out of that. And you got to take small bites. It can do it, but you have to take small bites to draw out that material when you start jumping up in sizes. All right, this is getting up to a good heat. We're going to go ahead and put in, we're going to go ahead and put in our guillotine tool that you can buy over at blacksmithingblanks.com. And Thomas, you're going to grab the short-handled sledge there. I've already got it set out. You go to camera number 2, Jess?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Can they see this okay, by the way?
Yeah, it looks fine from here.
Focus enough?
Uh-huh.
It's good?
Yep.
Okay. So since this is a cold finish bar, I'm actually going to start by working on the corners if I can first. I'm going to get this in here. Go ahead. All right. Get this in. You wait now. My fingers are in the way, Thomas.
You got
Go for it. No. Good. No, I've got 8 and plus a thumb.
I can't count.
All right. Well. All right. So we took the corners off first because this is sharp. It's a cold finish bar. Those are really sharp. Do one more that way. Yep, let's go. Good. I'm gonna lay it flat. Go for it. Don't go fast with this. Just take your time. Good. So I'm having Thomas use a very short-handled sledge. Hold up. Go for it. Nope. Go back in. And I'm doing that because, go ahead, he's up so high. He's up really high. So if you have a really short-handled sledge, you can come down more squarely on top. Let me see that sledgehammer. So you can come more squarely on top without this racking you, the handle racking you. Hopefully you guys can see that. We've created a little bit of a groove started down around it. Again, we're trying to isolate this mass here away from the rest of the mass. So we're trying to just bite it and kind of get pushed over here, and then we're going to work down the end here.
You want to take that blower right out of there?
No, I don't know if they're going to be able to hear me very well. I won't be able to hear Jess if that blower's running.
Drop that out.
Not right now. Not right now. I don't want to do it right now. So we might resort to that though.
Mr. X says, will you ever do a video on casting steel?
Probably not.
Kind of a specialty thing.
I'm not a, if I do, it'll be for some sort of project. I'm not set up for any of that. I'm not set up for any of that. If I do a project like that, it won't be a project, it'll probably be an experiment, right? It'll be something like, oh, let me see if this gets hot enough to do X, right? Or whatever, but I doubt I would make anything from it. I'm just not set up here to pour molten metal. And I am definitely not, I'm not your go-to guy for casting a material. So I am not an expert or even a noob at it. So I wouldn't have anything to offer as far as knowledge.
Aimless Adventures and a $5 super chat says, Roy rants on keyboard warriors with pasty white skin and grandma's basement, LOL.
That's too generalized to rant about it. It's just too generalized.
He sounded like he had somebody specific in mind.
He forgot the Cheeto stained t-shirt and the Batman underwear. There you go. The rant. Oh, let's hear. What type of ramp around keyboard warriors? You know, people say don't feed the trolls, right? They get fed anyhow off of drama out there on the internet. The best thing you can do about those keyboard warriors is to tell them to go wash down their wife beater and change their Huggies. That's about it. I know that's a pretty lame rant. I don't know. I haven't had to deal. Oh, I've dealt with a few keyboard warriors, but I have been so busy and preoccupied with about a zillion things around here that I've just been like, block. You don't like the color of my face, block. You don't like how I said something in the video, block. Because I'm like, I have no time for you, block. Use the power of the block button.
Eric Eastmead sent a $5 super chat. Says, if you want to slow this down some more, you can use my 70-pound train track anvil.
Well, we could slow it down even more. I think there's a good talking point while we wait for this to heat back up. There's a tendency when you are green at this craft, and some people have taken offense to that before, when I make statements of someone being a noob or being a greenhorn at it, or, you know, being brand new at the craft. When you are new at the craft, there is a tendency to think that you are falling behind some imaginary timeline that you should be on, finishing, making your material doing what it's supposed to do. And that's just false. It takes time to understand the correct forging temperatures you need to be at, to know how to move the material, how to progressively forge the material. There's guys been doing it 20 years and they're not good at moving material because they haven't ever just sat there and studied it. They're trying to make a thing get a thing done, and that's it. They didn't learn the process and how they could make that more efficient. And so you being new at the craft, you may see somebody on YouTube, like myself, whip out a project in 8 minutes. That's completely a lie. It's completely a lie. It did not take 8 minutes. It took 180 minutes to make the video. And then we have to condense that information because everybody has brains the size of gnats nowadays that we have to try to fit it into a short. Hey, buy that, wow, woo, boom, boom, bang, spow, look, bam, hammer, right? The YouTube is forcing us, well, dumbing us down basically to a point where we're trying to get your attention. And so here's only the snapshots of all the highlights. But you as a beginner starting off, you're like, oh, well, that project, okay, he did that hole in 3 heats. You're seeing 3 of 37 heats it might have took for that dude to do that, right? But you don't see those. Those are all cut out on the editing floor. So take time to get acquainted with the steel, to get acquainted with this craft. Take time to say, okay, hey, this is a big chunk. I'm not a machine. I can't just throw a bigger hammer at this and make the problem go away. It shouldn't take a beginner on a general project. It should take a beginner a full day. I don't care what you start on. It's going to take you a full day as a minimum. When you go to a beginning blacksmithing class and you're learning stuff, the stupidest simple projects that I can knock out in 5 minutes will take a beginner 4 hours to do. So that scale of time is askew from what you see online. So take the time that is necessary working with the equipment that you have to not sustain injury and be able to complete your project. Be about the process of blacksmithing and not just the end product of blacksmithing. Because let's be honest, if you're just beginning, all of your end products suck. They just do. It's a fact. Your wife tells you that they're great. Your wife tells you that they're lovely. Your mom says, oh honey, that's the best hook I've ever seen. And she's lying to you, to your face, because that's not, trust me, 10 years from now, you will cringe that you ever put out that kind of work. You'll be like, oh my God, that was me? I think I'll just shuffle that one under the forge, right? But that's part of this process. We all start there. None of us just got born at the top with a hammer in our hand. It's just not how it works. Don't care who lies to you. So don't rush the process. Enjoy it.
Bill Wheel says he missed the stream about the Jeep. What was the diagnosis and the cure?
There is no cure and there is no diagnosis as of yet. No. It's sitting out there cold, and I don't like to be cold while working on it, so it's still sitting up on ramps. Right now the thoughts is that it is the PCM. I'm not so sure it is. When I look up all the different no crank, no start type stuff, there's like 50 other things that it could be, and before it's even the PCM. But I've got a new PCM, used PCM from a junkyard for cheap. So eventually that'll get thrown in maybe and reprogrammed, but I've got to do a whole lot of wire checking what I have to do. There's been tons of people who said, oh, I thought it was a PCM, didn't work, and it turned out it was some wire that wasn't making connection somewhere. So you guys can understand that that's a nightmare to have to diagnose wires when it's 10 degrees out and you're laying out in the snow. So, and all the blood drains from your fingers to your elbows. Your fingers get all frostbitten.
Amos's Adventure says, I started trying an S-hook and ended up with a Decepticon at the end.
Tried doing a what?
An S-hook.
An S-hook?
Ended up with a Decepticon. Keith says...
Huh? What's up? Yeah. Thomas wants to speak real fast.
So on...
You don't have to yell.
Okay. Well,
just talk normal.
Okay.
Put it on there.
So, no, with
I don't know if some of you guys saw, but I made a rose from one of the blank sets. And Roy said it takes him an hour and a half from start to finish. It took me 6 hours. So, and, you know, he lied to me as well. Okay. So, you know, believe me, when you guys are first starting out on a new project, new task, anything like that, it's just going to take time. I even look at it as like, wow, I could do better, you know. So, but just have fun with the project. And for all the new guys out there, new beginners, just have fun, you know. Go out there. Yeah, you're going to have some metal that you maybe burn or destroy, a project that you may be working on and destroy it in 2.3 seconds. Don't let that discourage you. Just keep going on it. And with time comes improvement. You can only get there by practice, practice, practice. So that's what I have to say on that.
Yeah, just ask Thomas later on. Ask him in the chat, what did he destroy in 2.5 seconds? He's a little sore about it.
So sad.
Yeah, it took him 6 hours to do that rose with instruction. So if you were just bumbling along by yourself and you didn't have someone who's made about 1,000 roses standing there next to you, it's going to take even longer. So enjoy the process, enjoy the learning portion of it.
Good evening, Yalmez. He says,
Yalmez, my friend, shouted you out earlier. Shill in the stream.
he says, I don't know, Roy. I can do a one heat hammer.
A one heat hammer? Mm-hmm. I don't want to swing it. Not interested in it. And I would doubt its longevity.
Simeon Beeler joined as a bellows boy.
Who is it?
Simeon Beeler.
Simeon, thank you so much for becoming a bellows boy. We need to do another stream, don't we, ladies and gents, to do another membership wall stream, shouldn't we?
We should.
Got to set up the scaffold.
There's a bunch of names that have to go on it.
Might just do a ladder this time.
Yeah.
Because I'm kind of like right at my ankles the last time
Yeah.
I was. So I don't necessarily need the scaffold now. I could probably just do that from a regular ladder. So, all right, we're going to get this guillotine out of the way.
Thank you, Glenn from GS Tongs. He sent a 300 NT super chat. Says, hey, Roy, this is the real Glenn. GS Tongs, not a hammerhead scammer.
Thank you. Thank you, Glenn at GS Tongs. If you all don't know Glenn at GS Tongs, stop watching the video. Go subscribe to him right now. He's a good chap, does amazing work, and thank you, sir. And he's got some of the best stories on YouTube when listening to his live streams. I get a real kick out of them. So thank you, brother, for that super chat. Wasn't needed, but greatly appreciated. Well, who am I kidding? Yes, it was much needed. You don't think this got this big for no reason, did you? Thank you very much.
And Yalmez, thank you for the mustache super sticker.
The mustache.
The mustache.
All right, we ready to strike, Thomas? All right, we're going to go nice and slow. We're just going to start drawing a taper on the end. Are we at the anvil, Jess?
We are.
Okay. So working a large piece like this by hand, remembering that you're not a power hammer, you want to take it nice and slow, and you want to go all sides evenly. We're starting with the very end and working it down. Put up. Take a break. That's fine. So now we're going to work on the mass. Stop, Thomas. I'm going to instruct. So now we've created a taper, a short blunt taper here. And now we're going to take this little rise right here between the flat and where it's tapered, and we're going to take that off next. So we're going to just do one hit per side here. Right on that ridge. There we go. Nope, you're hitting off, buddy. Get in the middle.
I see where you want it.
I want it in the middle. Good. All right. So we're going to start working that down. It's all about isolating that mass so it works a little bit easier. There's this little effect, it's a little less known effect that happens because of laws of physics that we're all governed by here on this planet. It's called the anvil effect. And this happens in large material all the way down to small material. Small material, it's marginal at best, so you don't really notice it. The larger the material you get, though, the more you actually notice this effect take place. What the anvil effect is in actual material, really, it's mild steel, anything that has mass or weight to it, is you are applying kinetic energy. You're applying energy into the piece, okay? You're hitting this mass of material, and that energy is trying to find a place to go. Some of that energy is being reflected back through the anvil surface, through the piece and into the hammer, and gives you a slight raise up, as assuming that the anvil's not deforming underneath. It gives you a slight bounce back into your hammer. Some of that energy is being consumed by compression, compressing the piece. Some of that energy is being consumed by lengthening the piece as you draw it out. And some of that energy is being consumed by the mass of the parent bar itself. So when I talk about isolating a bit of material off on the end, what we're doing is we are essentially creating a choke point for that kinetic energy to stop being absorbed as much throughout the rest of the bar. For example, you can take a very large bar and hang it from a string, heat the end up, and upset the end without the other end of that bar being attached to anything, and you can see this anvil effect that I'm talking about. That anvil effect is still in play even if you're working on the anvil. You're trapping it from the bottom, you're trapping the steel from the top, you're trapping the steel from the parent bar, and it has to go the direction or the path of least resistance, which is forward, away from you, out into the air. Likewise, say if you had, for instance, say you had a bar that you were hammering dead center of. You're going to hammer dead center of this bar, and you're trying to draw it out. You are going to be there all day. And the reason why is all of that displaced material and kinetic energy is trying to fight against that anvil effect on the end of the bar. That's why when we draw a taper, we produce a small blunt taper on the end, giving our energy somewhere to focus to and to draw to. That's why we do that. It's the hows and the whys. Not just the hows, but why do we draw out work a certain way. So if you take a bar, a big heavy bar, and even under the power hammer, I don't care. Use a power hammer on this. Get as big a power hammer as you like, as big a bar of steel as you like, and try to draw out from the center of the bar, have the whole piece heated up, try to draw out from the center of the bar and work out to the end, and compare how much work you get done in one heat. And you'll see a massive difference when it comes to that anvil effect versus taking a small bite on the end of the bar, isolating it out, and then drawing that out in one heat. And then you can always go to the heavier mass and pull more material into it because it has a place to flow too. So that's just kind of some physics that are at work in the steel itself. that is it's little less understood or ever talked about or known. But that is why we do a taper at the end of a bar and we draw everything into that taper. It is much more efficient. So when you're forging work, I'm a big stickler on forging progression. I talk about it a lot. Like when you're first beginning off, you don't know the proper forging operations or the forging progression on a piece and how it's critical to move material quickly and efficiently. And that's what I'm talking about, is knowing the right hitting order to be able to pull out a piece of bar quickly and efficiently. Questions?
Yes. Castle Forge says, do you recommend getting a fly press? If so, what number?
If you're going to do a lot of forging with it, I have heard it recommended nothing smaller than a number 6. That is what I've heard. If you're going to get the fly press for like punching stuff or pressing in bearings or doing chisel work underneath, you could probably get away with everything down to the smallest one they offer. Just depends on what size you're, what type of material you're trying to work underneath it. I do recommend getting a fly press for anybody who wants to get one, and if you can afford one, a great tool. I love that fly press. What it is not a press. It is not a power hammer. It is a fly press. So it is its own category of tool. That's one thing I can advise on. If you're trying to get a fly press to skirt needing to build a hydraulic press, no, it's not a good proxy. They're completely different machines. The way that they work is completely different. Not bad, just different. So that's my thoughts on it. If you're going to get a fly press, get as big one as you can stand. If you're going to be doing a lot of forging, hammers, and whatnots underneath it, I actually plan on getting a smaller fly press for doing delicate like chisel work under, right? And I can just have small tooling and doing like plate work, decorative plate work and things. So I do plan on getting a smaller fly press than that. That is a number 6. And it's actually a kind of special because it has a lot of clearance height. It has a lot of daylight height, which is really nice for drifting stuff and punching things. But it's also very big, and so it's not as delicate for doing little tiny chisel work that would be more rapid with a small fly press.
Trucker Geek says, how hot should you expect the tools to get in normal use? I'm looking at casting some tools in my foundry and was wondering if wrought iron would be solid enough or if I need something stronger.
Well, if you have wrought iron, don't melt it down into tools. That's specialty stuff. If you generally, like ductile iron's fine. How hot do tools normally get? Usually tools are not getting any hotter than, or should never get any hotter than 1,000 degrees for the most part. Yeah, which is a black heat. So it should never show color in a tool. Now, if you're talking about casting like drifts and things like that, those will end up showing color. And they can deform if they're not made from a material that can be high heat resistant, like an air hardening or an impact resistant steel. But generally speaking, like cast tools, at one time I had a ductile cast iron or a ductile iron drift for making like mouse hawks. That lasted pretty good. I ended up selling it because I just didn't make hawks anymore. So I don't know why I sold it, but I just got rid of it because I was like, well, I'll never make these again. That was kind of stupid. I should have just kept it. Earlier days of blacksmithing there. And it holds up fine. There's a lot of swedge blocks out there on the market that are all ductile iron. They hold up really well. And again, they never get up above, fry and egg temperature, a couple hundred degrees. So if you're letting your tools get hot in the forge, it's operator error. You shouldn't be, like tongs, things like that, you shouldn't be letting stuff get hot. You shouldn't be leaving hammer heads up by a forge fire or anything like that. That's just abuse to an actual tool. And it's not the tool's fault. Hopefully I answered the question good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, don't do what we did. I don't know what happened to it. Is it over there? It was earlier. I don't know if I chucked it. There you go. Yeah, go to camera number 2, Jess.
All right.
Don't leave hammerheads near the fire that might get raked in or in the fire, right? Don't do that. This was a 2-pound hammer originally. So, yeah, don't do that. Let that be a lesson to you.
It's a nugget now.
It's a nugget. It's a hammer nugget now.
Possum sausage
Possum sausage, what?
says, would a treadle hammer be better for fine chisel work?
So, a treadle hammer, I've used several different types of treadle hammers. I am not a fan of treadle hammers for one reason, and this is the only reason why I'm not a fan of treadle hammers. I have a back injury that prevents me from doing a lot of bending and twisting and stuff right at the hips. And so standing on one leg and doing the good thing with the other, it just drives my sciatica insane. So I can't do treadle hammers, like where you just foot operating it all the time. I know Ernie Dorrell, if you look him up, if you Google Ernie Dorrell, he does some amazing work with his treadle hammer, and he's got like stops and tools that are specific for it. He does a lot of chased plates and things like that for like escutcheon plates and back plates and door knockers and you name it. And I have seen him demonstrate before, and it looked like that'd be a real handy tool to have. I've only owned one treadle hammer, but I have used about 5 different treadle hammers, and they just too much on my hips and my back. So for me, I would say no, a fly press is a much more controlled thing than what a treadle hammer is. A treadle hammer is going to give you a thump, which is nice, but the fly press, you can just give it tiny little bumps, and that's enough, especially when you're talking about something that's got an edge and you're working with 6 tons. The only thing I will say that's not so nice about the fly press, especially this one, is she ain't gentle. She ain't gentle. So you've got something 6 tons put across, an 1/8 inch ball end or something, you can send that sucker right through the piece. Real easy. You just go dink, and it's like it just popped right through your piece. So that's one downside to using a fly press versus a treadle hammer. It won't ever thump it probably hard enough to wreck something.
Stephen White says, watching your fire, are your coals bright yellow under the top layer? I think my fire is too hot.
Yes, they're bright yellow, lemon yellow under the top layer. This is a coke fire, so depending on what you're using at home, if you're using green coal, it can change, that look or that appearance can change. This is coke, so it's different than green coal. It burns a little bit different, as far as the flames it puts off. On camera, you're watching the fire and it looks way bigger on camera and brighter than it does actually in person. So like when I brought it out to the anvil, the steel, it looked bright, like welding heat hot, but it wasn't. It was more like a bright orange here in the shop. It was nowhere near yellow. Nowhere near a yellow color, lemon yellow or something like that, where things would start to be welding at a high carbon material. So it's just a byproduct, a little bit of an artifact of the actual camera itself. But yeah, underneath that top layer of coke is a really hot layer inside the fire. Actual coke, metallurgical grade coke, it needs a lot of oxygen in order to burn. And if you turn off the oxygen source to it, it dies out very quickly because it has a lot of surface area. And that surface area, in order for it to ignite and stay lit and stay burning, it needs to consume a mass quantity of oxygen in order to stay hot. Unlike if you were using charcoal in this application or something, charcoal you need to put very little air on to get those coals hot, but they consume quickly. This is green coal. You have to use more air than you would with charcoal, but less than you would with coke. So green coal is a little bit different because part of that combustion process is burning off the volatiles that are in it. As you can tell, there's no smoke in here either. There's no big green plumes of smoke coming off this forge. That's because all of the volatiles have been burnt off or baked off.
The Animating Dragon says, hey Roy, do you know anything about post drills? I'm asking because I recently got one and the ratchet arm is snapped in half.
Yes, I do. I got a post drill back there. The ratchet arms, they are a bit finicky, but they are a fairly simple thing. So if the ratchet arm snapped in half, I would just make sure it's the correct length, and I would just put a little weld or braze it back together and get back up in business with them. If it's missing the ratchet arm altogether, that is a lot harder fix because you need to have some mechanical know-how, and you're going to have to play and tweak with it a little bit to get the ratcheting action just right. But they're a great tool. They can put off just as much pressure, just as much drilling pressure as a regular drill press. Sometimes they're a little bit better with bigger drill bits than a regular drill press is, but they're slower. They're just a slower way of doing holes. Are we ready, Thomas? Let's go to the anvil. So since that sat in the fire for a while, I'm going to brush it real quick just to take any junk that may have adhered to it in the fire. Okay, do the same thing. We're going to take off the next little knot there. See the knot? We're chasing this nub up. So well, if you're working with a striker, you need to remember, you're not working with the machine. So you need to give them a break from time to time. They are not a machine. Don't abuse them, they won't come back. And we'll just keep working that down until she fits. As you see, that 2.5 inches of material is going to draw out quite a bit, ain't it? It's going to really pull out there. So now we're working up to where we're at the top of this taper, and we need to work this mass down into the smaller mass. Let me grab this thing here. So as you can see, we've got this fuller here. This is a great illustrative point. Just like out here where we created a short blunt taper, and then we rocked it back and we took a slightly less steep angle, and we took that bump off, that little rise where it transitioned from the flat to the taper, right? What do we have here now? We have a flat and we have a taper. So now we're going to do the same thing. The difference is I'm actually going to use a set hammer now that we're getting real close to this, so Thomas doesn't booger this end up goofing this up. But we're going to hammer this down to meet that now. And we have somewhere now for all this energy to go. And then that will help. By the time we take that mass out, this should drop right in and then we can start upsetting it. Hopefully that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Sully, thank you for the $5 super sticker of a pair doing a mic drop.
Mic drop! Thank you, thank you. Hey, Thomas, can you get me some more Coke, please? Thank you. Thank you,
Thomas
sir.
S. says, so charcoal should also have an orange-like color, like Coke, and be a hotter yellow than the one below. How should charcoal burn in comparison to Coke?
Charcoal is going to burn a lot cooler. unless you're really throwing on a lot of charcoal. So to get charcoal to, say, a bright lemon yellow or a white heat, it's going to take a lot of it. You're going to have to put a lot of it on there. It's not impossible, but you can. Most forging fires with charcoal, you're going to be looking at max a bright orange to very dull yellow. That's kind of where you're working at when you're working with charcoal, and that's pretty high temps. Years ago, when I worked with the master smith, Tom Latney, he's a locksmith in Pepin, Wisconsin. When I worked with him, most of our material never got brighter than a cherry red in temperature, maybe a dull orange, because we had to use so much charcoal to get it to that color, and charcoal is expensive. At least it was where he was, and he did it for a business, so it wasn't worth him making his own charcoal. So we would end up putting green wood on top, and we'd feed the center with actual charcoal that was store-bought, and it took a lot, and I do mean a lot of it. Half of my 2 weeks that I spent with him at his shop was spent every morning chopping enough kindling and wood for the day's work. So it was a lot of work to cut up all that wood. We would go out to the woods about once every 3 days. We would go saw more wood and basically split and quarter firewood, bring it in, and then that would get cut down into smaller and smaller pieces until we had about 1/2 inch diameter sticks out of that, and then that would end up getting thrown on the actual forge fire mixed in with the charcoal, be able to get the BTUs out of it. So it's a lot more work, but that's a story that you didn't ask for. Sorry, apologize. But that's where my experience with charcoal has come from. Like I said, you're not really going to get it very hot. Everything with charcoal for forging color-wise, forging temperature is usually done a lot cooler. You have a lot colder temperatures. So, there you go.
Stenzel asks, what's your favorite type of scroll to make?
Favorite type of scroll? I don't have, I would say probably a fluted scroll. If I had to choose one, it'd be scrolls that have flutes in them. That's kind of more my favorite kind. Or like a fluted fishtail scroll. I really like the way those look. They just have such an attractive look to them, and they're kind of fun to make. In general, it's any type of scroll that has a finial. I'm not real hot on just ribbon scrolls, just basic scrolls. I like scrolls that have finials to them, like these brackets, like those there, right? They've got a little snub on the end. It's a little snub end scroll versus it just being a flat end, right? It just dead ends and that's it. It's just a spiral at that point. To me, scrolls need finials. They scream for something to draw the eye to, and I like that personally. Any type of scroll that has a finial on it, yeah, I like quite a bit. But if I had to pick one, it'd probably be a fluted scroll. Yep. What's up?
Kyle Scarborough asks, when punching holes, do you prefer to slit and drift or to punch with a round punch? And also, do you have a flat tip on your punch or is it tapered?
When punching holes?
Punching holes. Mm-hmm.
It depends. Depends on the work. So, I have done both. Slitting and drifting has its place, but so does just punching a hole. I've seen some online controversy before of rather, this hole or that hole, this method or that method has better structure for the steel or whatever. Not really. That's kind of all nonsense. It's all based upon the amount of thickness you had, your parent bar stock, the amount of thickness you have to begin with. Either way, you're removing material and then forcing that material around an object or a hole, say for an eye for a hammer, if you will. So slot punching holes and then drifting them out, I use that only when I need to make very large holes in something. very large holes that are going to really drift open. If that's going to be the case, then I like making a nice big long slot and then opening it up and then drifting and upsetting it and creating nice big round holes and pieces. That's nice for that type of work. Generally speaking though, if I have enough wall thickness if I'm going to have enough wall thickness after I punch a hole, say in the center of a bar for like a tenon, I'm not going to slit and drift. I'm just not going to slit and drift the hole. I'm going to punch it, you know, with just a regular old round punch. That's of the appropriate size. That being said, you can make smaller tipped punches that then drift up to larger size holes. It's not as efficient as making a slot and then drifting it up to size, but you can get a lot done with just one singular punch too. For example, while that's still heating there, let me pull out this punch here. So, I don't have the size in between. No, yeah, that's it there. Let's go to camera number 2, Jess.
All right.
So this is a punch that starts at 3/8 inch right here on the end, or roughly 9 mil round, and it goes up to just shy, or just right around 3/4 of an inch, or 20 mil round up here at the top. And then this is a drift that I made to follow that as well. Think of it as just like an extension, if you will. This is a drift now that I can stick in there that starts at just under 3/4 of an inch at 5/8 of an inch, or 16 mil round, and then it drifts all the way up past 1 inch round, or 25 mil round. So I can start in a bar, again, assuming there is enough thickness in the walls to do so. I can start punching a small hole in the center with 3/8, drive this all the way in until it gets up to here, once I've got the slug cleared, and then I can actually finish opening it up with this. It's a slower process than if I made a 1 inch slot punch, opened it with this, and then finish drifted it with that. Again, this method will be a lot slower, but again, it's only 2 tools. Slot punch, you're going to have a slot punch for each kind of size that you're looking to go for. So, you know, you kind of take your pick. I personally, for a lot of my work, since I'm not doing anything big and industrial, I'm not making anything on the scales of, like, generally speaking, I'm not making any architectural work that requires big, heavy bar stock with gigantic holes in it all the time. I use mostly just a punch. And if I need to drift it open a little bit bigger, I'll drift it open a little bit bigger.
Let's see here. Dusty Old Hat says, Roy, you are a true descendant of Tubal-Cain, an instructor of every artifactor in brass and iron, Genesis 4:22. Thank you for allowing me to be your student.
Thank you. Well, thank you. Thank you for such kind words. Such kind words. I do my best to share what knowledge I have.
Derek Ardron says, what do you use as a finish for items that will be exposed to heat, such as a coal rake?
Oil. Oil. Beeswax is okay, but oil. You really can't get around like a nice seasoned finish. You know, none of my coal rakes, like they've got a sheen to them. They're dirty. They get oily from time to time. I'll use them to fish something out of the oil quench, you know. But like just the handle alone, can we show that off? Camera number 2?
Yep.
Can they see how sheen that is?
Uh-huh.
That's just from use. That's me gripping it, right? That's me constantly working it, is what's polished it off like that. That's not coated with nothing, and it doesn't rust. Now, if I leave my forge for a week or two, that turns all rusty. But because I'm always working in here, I'm constantly gripping this, that's all shiny, whereas the end that's always staying in the fire is always just kind of coal, sooty, and dirty, but it's not rusted. So a used tool is not a rusty tool. A rusty tool is an unloved and unused tool in a blacksmith shop. you know, my hands stay greasy, my gloves get dirty, they get dirty and grease on them, right, and all sorts of stuff. So it's just part of, so as you're touching other things in the shop, it makes them dirty and greasy as well. If you've got a tool that's all rusted, all beat the band, it's probably because you haven't used it in a year. But yeah, if you're going to coat a tool with something in the shop, just oil, some sort of oil. It can be cooking oil, it can be motor oil. Most of my stuff, to be 1,000% honest, is used motor oil. It coats a lot of my stuff. I shouldn't be telling you to use that because cancer and everything, but I'll probably die from a lot of other things before, before I would have to worry about that. So,
Brian says, any thoughts on using barbecue charcoal briquettes for forging with?
So my thoughts generally, I have not used barbecue briquettes to actually forge with myself. Trying to use them to cook a steak, I don't like them even at that. So I wouldn't use charcoal briquettes myself. Thomas has a thought on that, and then we're hot.
So I have used charcoal briquettes. They have a high clay content in them. That's actually what they use to keep the shape of that briquette. So you're going to have a lot of flies off when supplying air to it. And it doesn't get quite as hot as you regular would if you got hardwood charcoal from the store. I make my own charcoal, and I just take a 55-gallon drum, put a bunch of hardwood in there, light a fire underneath, the gases come off. There's videos out there. John Switzer has one of making charcoal. Give him a look at Black Bear Forge. But the charcoal briquettes, they don't get as hot. They do get hot enough to melt metal, you know, burn your metal off, learn from experience there. But you're going to go through a lot more of it as well.
Boom. Well, there you go. All right, let's go to the anvil, Jess.
All right.
All right. Go ahead and give me away. Slow up. So now that I'm coming down to dimension, in order to bring this down in plane, I need to pull that notched area off the edge of the anvil. And now I'm starting to use this set hammer like a pair of power hammer dies. So I'm working between two dies. Slow it up. Slow it up. When you're working with a striker, your hand holding on your top tool needs to be very, very loose. Because if they miss hit, you don't want to catch all that energy into your hand and wrists. There we go. Good enough.
Sorry about that, buddy.
It's all right. So you can see a couple times where that hammer glanced off like that. If I would have had a death grip on that, that would have yanked my wrists around on me, and it's quite painful. So you definitely don't want to do that. But we're coming down closer, aren't we? Looking pretty good. Yeah, it's high carbon material. It's a little too hard. That's a softer face hammer, so no, it's fine. We can clean that off later. All right, back to the main cam, are you?
Yes, we're back at the main cam.
What's
yep,
everybody
that was
saying?
Milkdud saying hi.
Huh?
They said, did we hear a cat? Yeah, it was Milkdud. He was saying hi. Golden White Light says, my grandpa died of leukemia since he was a CNC machinist. My dad said it was working on the family car that did it to him from brake fluid. Any thoughts on using canola oil to quench and frog lube?
So the thing that is dangerous about working with cooking oils is they have a very low flash point, so they can catch fire quickly, right? So that would be my only concern with using cooking oils, as far as for quenchants going, like just a regular vegetable oil that you would use. They make specialty products out there like Parts 50. There's a whole bunch of other types of quenching oils out there. If you're into doing tools, it would be my suggestion that you work with a actual tool steel quenching oil, if that's what you're wanting to really pursue or go for. All things that vaporize off that are not oxygen are going to be carcinogenic to you or to your lungs. And so, you got to take precautions where you can. With this trade and with this craft, there's acceptable amounts of risk that you're inevitably going to take just because, well, you're doing a dirty industry here, right? There's volatiles that are coming off of that forge right now as we're speaking. I should have a vent go out and everything. I don't, but I also have a 32-foot ceiling, and it's a mostly open barn, open air shop. So I'm not as worried or concerned with that for myself personally. Good ventilation, that's a big key there, especially if you have those type of concerns. As far as vegetable oils of any type, canola oils, peanut oils, again, a vegetable oil, olive oils, a lot of those have a very low flash point. And so I don't necessarily recommend using them on anything larger than like a punch or and use them outside. A punch or a slitting chisel or small hand tools. But once you start quenching hammers, you start quenching larger dies or things like that, you need to get a proper quenchant material for that. But as far as for general stuff, yeah, it'll work just as fine as any other oil. For many years, I've actually used motor oil. Motor oil, transmission fluid mixed with a little bit of water. And, I've quenched a lot of tools in that, and it's not healthy for you. It's not healthy to be breathing in. But again, I did it for a whole lot of years before think it was the cheapest thing I could get at the time when I first got in the craft. Nowadays, I have no excuse for using it. So, that's just how that is.
Shepherd H. Forge says, hello, Roy and everyone. I'd like to thank everyone who donated to help me with my battle against cancer in 2020. I thank you all who helped and sent well wishes. I'm 2 years cancer-free.
Very awesome. Everybody give a round of applause in the comment section if you haven't already. Congratulations.
See, Harold Hoshkison says, do you leave any taper on the shank of the tool?
You can. It's not necessary, but you can. There'll probably be a little bit of taper on this just from where we started at. That's fine. It doesn't hurt anything. It's down in the hardy hole, so it doesn't really matter.
Glenn Martin says, long tongs make for clean lungs.
Long tongs make for clean lungs. It can. Can very well indeed. Another good point to point out here and to take in preference this, as well as I hope everybody does. Take what I say with a little bit of a grain of salt. There are things that I say that I know to be true. There's stuff that I say that I've been told. There's stuff that I've heard along the grapevine and I'm probably regurgitating whether it's true or not. I try to eliminate as much of that as I can and speak just to facts, right? If you come in conversation with some other smith out there, they may have a completely different viewpoint than me. And guarantee there are those out there that do. And that's fine. You have to take what they say as well with a grain of salt. and you have to find your own way through this whole thing called blacksmithing. Because where I've learned from a lot of different smiths. And what I've learned most from that is there is a lot of ways of going about the same thing, and there's a lot of opinions around the same thing. There's a few facts in the trade of blacksmithing, and there's a lot of conjecture in blacksmithing. A lot of opinions in blacksmithing. Both true, both untrue, and some even logical fallacies out there. So beware not to take up arms, right? And saying that, okay, Roy told me, or so-and-so, John at Black Bear Forge told me, or Alex Steele told me, or Joey Van Dierstig, or Peter Ross, or Clay Spencer, or whoever told you that this is the way to do something, so the next person I listen to who's saying something different or slightly rearranged is just dead wrong. Be careful of doing that. It really inhibits your learning. It really does.
Wiley Rook says in the U.S. McMaster, they have 5-gallon bucket of medium fast quench for $85.
5 gallons is going to last you a really long time. So, cheap enough. Go for it. But again, if you're just quenching small tools, and I'm talking small, I'm just talking like little chisels and chasing tools and punches and slitting chisels and little handheld fullers and stuff like that. You want to do it in cooking oil, the risk is very small. So if there is a flash point, your hands are far enough away because you're holding with a pair of tongs, right? There's some leeway there. There's some give and take. Obviously, if you're working in your garage, go do it in your driveway, not inside your garage, inside your house. Don't do that, because where you think, oh, it'll be fine. I won't have an oil fire today. That's exactly when you have an oil fire. So is when you think, oh, it'll be fine. So just take proper precautions.
Corey Shire says, what would be the max size weight sledgehammer recommended to be used on a 66-pound anvil?
Max weight sledgehammer? Mm-hmm. On a 66-pound anvil? Mm-hmm. I wouldn't go over 6 pounds probably. A 6-pound sledge. That would be the max. It's about a 6-pound sledge. Oh, the 66-pound Achayos, those aren't going to make great striking anvils or anvils where you want to do really big heavy-duty stuff with. They just don't have the mass behind them or the oomph. Can you do it? Yes. Is it the best? No. So if you're working with what you got, I wouldn't go over a 6-pound sledge. No. That's how people break things, and then they claim that it's the anvil's fault. No, it's the tool that was using its fault.
Troy, have a good evening. Thanks for dropping in.
Hey, thank you, Troy, for stopping by. I didn't even know he came in.
Yeah. I thought I've read a couple of his comments.
I didn't remember you say anything. Oh. Okay. Let me get some air in this thing. Come on, boy.
Possum Sausage had asked, what do we do to get our name on the wall?
What to do what?
To get the name on the wall.
To get the name on the wall, become a channel member. I thought Possum Sausage is up there.
I'm not sure. It'd take a little while
now
to
we're
look
both
through all
looking.
the names. There's over 50 names up there.
Nope, Possum Sausage is not up there. Well, get on it, brother.
He says, Roy is secretly a cat-loving knife maker who uses flux all the time on his projects whilst wearing a kilt and a Cheeto-stained wife beater.
Not true. You'll never get me to admit it on camera. It's going to be one of those like 60 minutes investigates type thing. Someone's going to show up with a hidden camera. Just catch me there, neck bearded on the internet in my living room. In my Cheeto stained wife beater, wearing my Batman underwear.
Only in the day that ends in Z.
This is all fake. It's literally just the neck beard being brushed upwards
Like a little
to give
glue,
the appearance
like
of
you
a
just
full beard.
glue it on, pat and fold.
Yeah, this isn't actually like the goatee portion of the beard. It's actually just a wraparound.
See, Possum Sausage says, I've heard of a 12-to-1 ratio, anvil to hammer ratio.
Well, you could do that. I have heard all sorts of ratios like that in my time of smithing. I don't get into any of them. I just use practical common sense. If your hammer is bigger than your anvil, you're probably going a touch too far, right? You know, if you got a 3-pound anvil and you're forging it with a 12-pound hammer on top, it's kind of, you kind of cross the line a little bit into insanity. Same way, you know, if you have a gigantor anvil and then you're always just doing like these tiny things on it, which you could do, it's overkill, right? The anvil's overkill for probably the process that you're trying to do. So just kind of keep that in mind. Not all anvils are distributed equally either. So, you know, the mass that is in an anvil is not completely distributed equally. So you can have a 2,000-pound anvil, but it's got an area underneath it that's about this big, which is like a 500-pound section, and then all the rest is all out in horns on it. That's different than a 2,000-pound square chunk of steel, right? Where the majority of the mass is all under the hammer blows. So you kind of have to play around with that for yourself, and so that those ratios don't hold true unilaterally across the board. So I usually don't use ratios of any kind when it comes to that. Just use kind of just plain common sense. I think that looks like too big of a hammer to be whacking on this 20-pound Harbor Freight anvil with, right? Oh.
Huh? You coming up here?
Yep.
Come on. No, to get down.
You go camera 2?
All right.
You ready, Thomas? All right. There we go. I'll clean this up. All right. Let's see if you can go for it right there. Try to hit the thick part. Yep. Much better. Got a little bit more to go with that, and that'll go just fine. I'm going to end up taking the corners off and chamfering it a little bit, and that should fit down in there just fine. We should be able to start upsetting it.
Possum Sausage says, right, that was last weekend, LOL. I had a camera rolling the whole time.
Yeah, Possum Sausage, come to visit. Take a class with me. Him and his wife. Lovely people they are. You heard it here, folks. He's not as creepy as you might think.
He didn't bring any possum sausage to us.
Say what?
He didn't bring any sausage.
No, he didn't
made
bring
from
any possum sausage to us, so he's all right. Yeehaw. What else, babe?
Let's see here. Corey Shire was saying that he had a 3-pound hammer. He was thinking he might have to upgrade for working on the big hex stock. So that's why he's asking about the weight of
for
a
a 3 pound?
sledgehammer.
Nope, that's plenty enough. Take smaller bites and take time. And 3 pounds plenty.
Thousand Hammer Studio said, good afternoon. Just about finished welding my guillotine tool. I can't wait to use it.
Awesome, awesome. Hopefully it does well for you. Tell people where you found that at. Blacksmithingblanks.com. Secretly, that's the only reason why I have Thomas here for.
Make him start doing sound effects.
Yeah, make him do the sound effects. Huh. Wrong sound effect, Thomas.
Go to button D.
What's that?
Button D.
Yeah.
Just different buttons.
What else we got?
Glenn Martin says, be careful you don't flatter yourself.
Don't want to do that. Nice pun. It was fun.
Robert Lana says, got my first sale in 1.5 months today in the Etsy store. Here's hoping the slow sale season is over.
Woohoo! Let's hope for it, brother. Congrats. Hopefully it goes well. For those of you who don't sell your ironwork or sell anything, right now is a slow sales point. So everything, you're kind of in the lull, the lull or the slump, if you will, of the season. It's right around tax time. People are holding on to money. They don't really want to spend it. It's kind of cruddy time of season. Like the weather ain't no good. You know, it's cold. Right, buying opinions kind of down, and it happens in all crafts, trades, and industries as well. Any commodities markets all goes through a slump down around this time of the year. And then once spring hits in different areas of the world, and all of a sudden it starts kind of getting warm out, and birds are tweeting, and everybody's happy, and people are feeling good, then people start purchasing a lot more. So just the nature of the beast. So if you do this for a living, you have to make sure that you stock up during those good times for the dry times. Otherwise, be prepared to starve for about 3 or 4 months.
Or you can have possum sausage.
Or you can have possum sausage that you found on the roadway.
Christopher Concrete says, are ductile iron anvils any good?
Depends on good. They have a place. They can have a purpose. You can work soft materials on them pretty well. You can work really hot material on them pretty well. As far as them holding a good surface finish or, giving a whole lot in rebound, no, you're not going to get a lot out of a ductile anvil or something that's a cast iron anvil. Now, if you have a cast steel anvil that's made from high carbon material or impact resistant steel, it's going to perform just like a forged anvil, if not better. So, it just depends on the anvil and what you're going to use it for. Some people will say absolutely not, don't ever use it, throw that thing, use it as a boat anchor, blah, blah, blah. Those are just anvil snobs who have something better than you right now at that point in time. Don't worry about that. Just get in the craft and start beating on things. Especially if you're green. For instance, I paid nearly by the time I was all said and done, I have about $3,200 into Olga here. And if you're just getting started into this as a craft, as a fun hobby, that's going to be awful hard to convince the husband or wife to buy you, right? But I do this for a profession. This is my daily driver, right? I can make sense of an anvil this size and of this price in my workshop. I can do that because I make a living. I'm making a return from my investment. If you're just doing it as a hobby, or you don't even know whether you want to do this as a hobby yet, you just saw it on Forged in Fire and you think you're going to be the next master Damascus knife maker, well, I suggest that you start with a really cheap anvil that's affordable, that you won't cry too hard when you sell it down the road to somebody else. Because that's the nature of anything. If you get into fly fishing, there's $20 rods, and then there's $20,000 rods out there for fly fishing. You can buy the 3-cent fly that was tied by somebody in Ethiopia, or you can buy the fly that was tied by your grandpa, somebody's grandpa, for, you know, $4,000. Your choice, right? If you're a professional fly fisherman and you've got sponsors and all this other stuff and glitz and glamour and $10,000 bass boats, that might make sense. It doesn't if you're just wanting to take and get into fly fishing and you're tangling stuff up in trees and you don't know what you're doing yet. So just with anything, it's like any craft you get started with, any type of crafting, start small, start cheap, and then you can always sell that and upgrade equipment later once you've decided to know where you want to go with it. A lot of beginner mistakes go, and you see these on the online forums all the time. What type of tongs should I buy? A pair of tongs. That's the correct answer for that. A pair of tongs. What size hammer should I buy? A hammer is the correct answer for that. What type of anvil? A anvil is the correct answer for that. Because if you try to answer specifically, you're getting in a matter of opinion, or you're taking somebody else's knowledge with the way that they work. My anvil, 464 pounds, may not work for a farrier that needs to travel around and shod horses all day long, right? An awful heavy girl to be slugging out the back end of your truck, right? Just to bend a couple shoes cold. So you've got those NC tool companies. That's one of them. They're like a little farrier anvil, right? They're not made from very hard material. They're a little tough anvil, but they're meant to take and reshape shoes. Aluminum shoes is what they were designed for. Aluminum and pre-made shoes. They weren't made to take a insane beating, you know, and have you thumping away on them forever, hammering out hammer billets. That's just not what they were designed for. But you won't know that. I could tell you that's the anvil you should buy, but then you get into making hammers. I've given you the wrong information because I don't know what type of work you want to pursue or get into. So just get started is what's important, and then figure out how to be an anvil snob later on, or be a tong snob, or hammer snob, or whatever later on, like everybody does once you've got a little knowledge in the craft.
Weird.
That was a mini rant, wasn't it?
It was.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's all right.
Not sorry. Apologize. Laying down some wisdom, if you want to call it that.
There's not just one tong and one hammer that does it all.
Yep, not one tong or hammer that does it all. Questions, Jess? Comments?
Yeah.
This is almost there. I want to take one more heat on this. Good?
702.
702?
And, yep. Go ahead.
Take
I
off
can
your
see
shoes,
it.
Thomas, and you count your toes. I don't know how many. Like 702, cross the eye, diameter of the sun times pi. Okay, that means we're running late, huh? We're probably not going to get this finished. That's okay. This fire, I should have done the bigger blower, but it would have been real hard to hear, so I might get some more flex pipe and do that by the next stream. I can go set it outside. Let the blower be outside. What's up?
You want a question?
Yeah, you told me,
A.
and then we're going to be ready to go.
AA says, what is the softest metal you can work in a forge?
What's the softest metal?
Yep.
Hot metal.
Well, like aluminum, copper, wrought iron.
Generally, in a forge speaking, you're probably not going to work anything softer than, say, aluminum. Like, that's it, or really thin sheets, tin, stuff like that. Lot of the really, really soft metals is hot short. So when it gets super hot, it turns into a puddle or crumbly. So, you know, you're not going to work it hot to begin with. You're going to heat it up and then anneal it and then work it cold for the most part. The softest material I would say that you can work in a forge, like a coal forge like this, would be copper. You can get copper in there. You can bring it up to, you know, reddish color and work it hot. You know, you don't have to let it cool down and be cold, but that would be my suggestion to that. Nothing probably lighter than copper. Don't be getting fancy and trying to put pewter in your forge, it's not going to work out very well. You're going to get a pewter-lined forge real quick. That type of stuff is just not meant to be worked hot. It's meant to be worked cold. All right, we ready?
Yes, we are.
Let's do some hammer work. Anvil cam. Anvil cam. They don't come here to see completed projects. They come here to take and see.
Thomas Sweat.
Thomas Sweat. They come here to take and listen to me rant. I'm using this smaller set hammer to concentrate the hitting energy of Thomas's big hammer there. To pull this shank down to size where I want it. Done. Booyah. If you notice, I'm not trying to get this project done in a heat. I'm trying to make a tool that is going to last me for 20 years. I don't want to have to keep making hardy tools for this anvil. I want to make it once and cry once. That's my goal with this. So I don't need to speed along at this process. Right? Mm-hmm. Sped along at this process because I wanted a video out of the deal. I decided I'm going to make one of them arch frame looking ones there. And I decided I don't like it. And I've hated this thing ever since I've made it 4-ish years ago. So it's not my style. I don't mind giving it to some sucker. I don't mind giving it to some sucker who needs it, but no more. Not in my shop. I'm kind of tired of it. So, but like I said, I made that, but it's held up, right? Mm-hmm. I kind of rushed along making it. It could have been made better. It could have fit better. It could have fit the anvil better. It could have done a whole lot of things better. But I just happened to decide I was going to rush through the process, and I got a result out of that. Now, those type of guillotine or those type of hot cuts, you can refer to as a Brazil style. I'm a style because it's not what Brian Brazil would make. Brian Brazil makes a nice hot cut hardy tool that fits right, but that's his tool. It's his way of making it. It's his styling, and it works really good in an anvil. I didn't make mine like that. I just said, well, I'll make it with the top arch to it and just see how that goes. Obviously, my shank's different. I made it like a traditional hardy tool where you would draw it down and draw out a square on the end and then have that go in there. It doesn't work really well. It bounces around too much, being that style of arch to it. It's always kicking one way or the other on me, and it leads to a lot of mishits. So, again, it might fit tighter in your guys' hardy hole and might work out well for somebody. I'm really not selling that that's a freebie, am it?
There's all kinds of people taking, it's calling dibs on it now.
Calling dibs on it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh. So it's very important, especially, there you go again. You may say, you may try a pair of wolf jaw tongs that you make yourself, and you say, I hate these. These are horrible. Why would anybody use wolf jaw tongs? They would use properly made wolf jaw tongs if yours was properly made. But maybe you didn't properly make a pair of wolf jaw tongs. So you need to try several different types of wolf jaw tongs to decide really, realistically, whether you like wolf jaw tongs or not. Same thing. Some people are like, I don't like bolt jaw tongs. Why? They usually have a whole bunch of reasons why they don't like them, but they have very limited experience using a bunch of different types of bolt jaw tongs. So keep that in mind when you're making preferences. It takes time to figure out your tools of what you like and you dislike. That doesn't mean just because Roy likes something or dislikes something doesn't mean that's the gospel. I'm the final say. Boom. Roy says, that is wrong. Oh. Now the whole world of blacksmithing must change their ways to suit Roy. That's not how it works. And it won't work for you either.
You need like one of those little wooden things with the hammer, like a gavel. Is that what that's called?
Oh.
Let it be written.
Let it be done.
I've spoken.
I have spoken.
Paul's Garage says, you mentioned a sucker and my ears started bleeding.
Welcome, Paul. Hopefully that new house is treating you well.
The Baka maker says, hands up. He says, pick me, pick me. Michael Duncan says, hello, they call me sucker.
Who?
Duncan.
Oh, yeah.
Tim O'Connor says, Thomas is not a sucker.
Or is he? A mustache.
Crawford wants to know what type of metal you're using for this project.
I am working with 1045 CF, or cold finished. It's a medium carbon steel. Medium-ish. Huh?
I said, Todd, good. Have a good night.
Thank you for being here, Todd. Hopefully you enjoyed it somewhat.
Harold Hotchkinson says, but I am special. And Liv Learns has a surprise giveaway.
A surprise giveaway? No surprise giveaways. So,
Possum Sausage says, Roy is the blacksmithing way.
oh, how many guys hate me because they think I think that. Oh, yeah, definitely not the way. I have my way of doing something and my shop, and I'm more than comfortable with staying and rooting in on those ways for the next 30 years. So, doesn't mean it's the right way. It's my way. You'll find that with guys who've been in the craft for a long time. They have their way. Guys or gals, I should say. They have their way that they're happy with. And it doesn't matter the amount of screaming, keyboard whirring you want to do. Not going to change it.
Bulat says, Roy, is this a German anvil?
Yep. It is a German Pettinghaus anvil. So nice. It's old. It's been through 2 world wars. And then made it to United States soil. And now it's in my shop where it shall stay for the remainder of my lifetime. Maybe my kid's lifetime. Who knows?
Possum Sausage. No, there hasn't been any giveaways this live stream.
Nope.
Our giveaway live stream is next in 2 weeks. Next live stream.
Yep, it's the next live stream.
Yep, we've been doing one giveaway a month, and then that way our other live stream can be a little more calm, as some people like to say.
Can you show the way our next giveaway so it's fulfilling some time?
The what?
One of the giveaway items for next live.
Oh yeah. Yeah, let's show that. Go to camera number 2, Jess.
All right.
Watch out for that cord, dude. Keep your feet off of them. You there?
Yep, we're there.
So, Thomas and I, we've been making these up as well. These are like little rivet heading tools that you can lay under a piece, and you have the rivet sticking up at you so you can forge down the opposite side of the head of the rivet so you can protect the dome on it. We're going to be having these for sale over at our website, blacksmithingblanks.com as well.
Blacksmithblanks.com.
Totally messed that up.
Blacksmithingblanks.com.
He's like black or
Oh, yeah.
He's
He's trying to get that raspy
yeah.
voice.
He's
to
been
get there.
drinking over there in the corner. Don't worry.
Kool-Aid.
Yeah, Kool-Aid. That's what it is. We all believe you. So, anyways, we'll be selling these over our website, but we're also going to be giving some of these away. These are actually the center cut pieces out of our arch frame guillotine tools that we are selling over at our website. Where's that at, Thomas?
Blacksmithingblanks.com.
.com. So yeah, so this is actually the centerpiece out of here. It gets cut out. Put it in there. Da, 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 da. So instead of letting that just be scrap, we decided to turn it into a tool for you all. So we'll have those available over the website. They are, I believe, $10 each is what we put them down for, right?
That's correct.
And they got 2 different size rivet heads that you can fit in them. A 3/8 inch rivet head, not the shank, but the head of the rivet, if it's 3/8 in diameter, or 1/2 inch diameter rivet head. So, and we'll have limited quantities of those because again, they are a byproduct of the other guillotine tools. So if we're not selling a bunch of the other guillotine tools, well, there won't be a whole lot of those centers to sell. So, but that'll be one of our giveaway items at the next live stream. The other giveaway item that we're going to have at the next live stream is we'll be giving away another guillotine tool at the next live stream. Go to camera number 2, Jess.
All right.
Just like what we used in this video this evening, we're going to be giving away another one of these bad boys. A kit in kit format. And who knows, we might even throw in one of these arch frame ones as well. That are all come to you like this in a nice little package. One of them arch frame types that we talked about earlier in the stream. We might give one of those away, as well as the gas forge that we're going to be giving away, which is the main attraction. We're trying to prevent the swelling from the top while we end up working on the other. You don't have to put a crazy chamfer like that. We're actually going to forge it kind of down. Go ahead and hit that. This is going to help us center up that kinetic energy, that mass, down the center of the piece. If we forge this evenly enough, it will. All right. And we're not going to worry about any cupping or fish lipping that's doing there because that's all going to get hammered on, so it's going to kind of compress it down. We're just trying to put a slight chamfer on that, so this way when we heat this area, when we localize our heat down in here, we can really push this mass into that shoulder. So I'll flip it around, put the shank back in.
Darren from Down Under Farm and Forge says hello.
Hello, hello, Darren. Hopefully you made it back to Australia safe and sound, brother. Oh, we've got something else coming, and it's coming from Darren. I do not have it here, so I can't show it off this stream. But
it's for the Christmas live stream.
Oh, it's for the Christmas. Well, I want to announce it. I want to show it for the Christmas live stream.
Alrighty.
It's a super special gift from Darren. Did an amazing job on it. If you guys haven't checked out his channel yet, you should go check out Darren as well. Great channel, great guy, great human being. How's that?
What's the full name of the channel?
Down Under Farm and Forge. Yep. Down Under Farm and Forge.
Justin Ray asked why the hand model was talking and not holding the items for display.
Yeah.
saying he's a
Why
slacker?
is that? You can't find good help these days. That's what it is. There you go. Display.
And you can get these at blacksmithingblanks.com.
.com. People are like, Roy is so hard up. Yes, I am. If you were asking yourself that question or making that comment right now.
Dana, good evening.
Good evening, good evening.
See, Keith says, have you decided what you're going to do with the vise yet? Just wants to
No.
be sure he catches it.
No, I have not, Keith. Not yet. Might be something special.
See, Will says, if the top die of a guillotine tool is too short, will welding hold up to the beating if I added a piece? So.
It should. It should, reasonably. I mean, eventually everything will break. Everything ends in degradation over time. So you probably weld a piece. If it's a good, strong weld, it probably lasts fine for many years. Then again, it might snap after your 10,000th hammer blow on it. And then just re-weld another piece. You're not really out anything except your time in that case. So, yeah. Tools are consumables. Dies are consumables. Tongs, hammers, power hammers, presses, steel, grinding discs, grinders, welders, plasma cutters, drill presses, drill bits, CNC machines, mills, lathes, they're consumables. They wear out over time. They get burned up. They got to be fully rebuilt after so many thousands of hours of service, and it's just part of life. Everything in the universe eventually degrades over time. It's going to go the way of the dodo. So when it comes to tools like that, if you need to repair it, or if you've got a thing where it's gotten too short, the die was too short, add a piece on top. Give it a try. Build it up with weld maybe. Try that. Just stack a bunch of beads and maybe that'll be strong enough to hold up even longer. Then again, it might crack within a few uses. You're only out your time at that point and whatever material you used. I got a piece of, I had some guys, it was at Sofa many years ago. I welded on my other guillotine tool piece here. See if I even got it over here. I do not. It's in the actual guillotine. There it is. I actually welded a piece of drill bit rod to a mild steel die because I wanted this smaller surface and I didn't want it to wear out as much as maybe a mild steel radius would. And so I welded a 1/4 inch drill bit, basically like drill rod stock to the end of it. And I had certain guys just give me all kinds of flack for that, saying that's not going to last, and those welds are going to snap and everything else. And again, 7 years ago, and it's still here. It's still in use. The weld's still good. So, could they have been right? Sure. Maybe I just hit the lottery with the right kind of conditions for the tool. Maybe I didn't. Maybe you can weld that stuff, and it's not as serious as they were originally anticipating. So. But again, if it does break off, it's not going to hurt my feelings. I've got more of that rod, and I've got more welding wire. I'm going to weld that back up. It's going to take me literally like 45 seconds on a welding day to, to put that thing back together and just not worry about it in the future. So there's a lot of tools like that you could do that with. Yeah, Thomas is a consumable.
Paul's Garage says fingers are also consumables.
They are a consumable, believe it or not.
Daniel Crawford says, Paul, from experience, fingers are super expensive to have put back on and rebuilt, LOL. And there is the sting factor.
There it is.
Thanks to your excellent showmanship, the both of you have sold 2 rivet tools.
We sold what?
2 rivet tools.
2 rivet tools? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Glad the hand model. Come on, get it. Get it. Get a hand model. Get it. There we go. Woohoo! We worked hard on those things. I made fly press tooling for those things. So thank you for making it all worth it. All right. So I've got just the tip of this thing sticking out of the fire. The shank is getting good and hot in that shoulder, and that's what we're going to use to drive down into the anvil. I really don't want to have a lot of spread on the top, so the top's not getting super hot. I'm trying to push this mass and build out the base, and then we're going to sharpen it off with a taper. And we might actually end up doing that next live stream. We will continue this on process potentially if Thomas is kosher with coming back during a giveaway live potentially. Or we'll shelve it and we'll do the giveaway live and we'll do it afterwards. No rush, no time period on this thing. Keep people waiting like another episode, another season, huh?
Yeah, that's right.
All right, let's go to the anvil.
Okay.
All right, go ahead. Well, just getting it straighten her back up.
I thought you were trying to break it free.
Nope. You've got a tool stuck in your anvil hardy hole. Remember, it shrinks slightly once it's cooled. So don't force it. Just give it time. All right. Get that hot again. Because this is high carbon steel, we don't want to quench off, right, the end. If this was mild steel, we could go ahead and quench it, quench off the area we're hitting. But that will end in disaster if we try that trick on a high carbon piece of steel. So we can't quench it off. So you got to leave the end out of the fire and let it be cooler than the rest of the material.
Or you can destroy it in 2.3 seconds.
Yeah, or you can destroy it in 2.3 seconds, like a Thomas.
Good night, trail dust.
Night trail dust. This wouldn't have took as long if this fire was working with me, but it's not. I gotta figure out what's up with my blower. Probably need to get a new blower. It's a little tired, a little old.
Maybe it just needs to be disassembled and cleaned.
Cleaned. It's probably dirty, yeah.
Yeah.
We're probably going to take this last heat, and I think we'll make that it. It's a good stopping place. You know, that has the shoulder and the tenon. And basically, I just did that to show off the guillotine tools that some of you guys could go buy over at blacksmithingblanks.com. It's really the true motive. So now you know. It's never too late in a stream to shill. Never. Oh. That brings me to a good rant, actually.
Oh, yeah?
It brings me to a really good rant. The word shill, the, how do I say, the morality of sales. It's a very interesting concept. Everybody likes to play like a precious little pony and a saint, like they would never shill a product a day in their life. And, I can't believe these people making ads on YouTube, right? Must be nice to be so rich, right? We've all had these thoughts of certain people on the internet, right? The interesting thing is your job is a byproduct of someone shilling hard, really hard. You have work because someone is shilling a product that they probably didn't, that they don't believe in, and that somebody really doesn't need. But yet you, good sir, work at GM. You, good sir, make manufactured car parts for Toyota. No one needs a new Toyota. No one needs an old Toyota. But people drive them down the road, don't they? Somebody shilled hard for them to buy a Toyota, so this way you have a job down the road. So it's an interesting thing that comes up because we're on YouTube. And you've got influencers on YouTube. Think of it as influencers are the modern incantation of a newspaper article ad. It's the modern incantation of a ad break on your favorite TV show, where they're shilling things like Sprite and Dr. Pepper hard towards you. And you're like, huh.
I was gonna say Febreze. It seems like all it is.
I'm
these days.
really thirsty for a Dr. Pepper right now all of a sudden. We don't ever claim those people are shilling things. But when the working man says, hey, go buy my tools over at blacksmithingblanks.com, you're like, oh, what a shill. This guy, I'm done. We're out of here. They're morally corruptible. So just analyze that when you're online and you're looking at somebody else's channel and they may have some sort of gimmick, or they have some sort of sponsor, or they have some sort of merch they sell, or they do whatever. They're no different. They're no more morally corruptible or uncorruptible as anything else that you benefit from in life. It's called sales and marketing. And you have to have those in order to have a job. So somebody who does it by themselves, this is the best one. I call it reverse shilling. This is the greatest thing ever. You've heard it here first. It's called reverse shilling. It's where I act higher than thou, and I say, well, there's those other companies out there that, they try to get you to buy their junk stuff, like, if I had to let my thing go, maybe $20 I would let that go for, but I really don't want to even sell it. It's called reverse shilling. It's reverse psychology on you. That they're playing like they're aloof, right? But really, what they want in their hardest of hearts is to have your money in their pocket. A transfer to happen of funds so they can give you a product, and they want to do that a whole bunch of times so they can continue to put fork in mouth, right? That's kind of what they're wanting to do. So beware of those people that take that kind of pessimistic view on all that and be like, these influencers, the Alex Steeles of the world, I can't believe he would do a sponsorship with, some gaming thing. If they paid you $1 million, you'd do it too. You'd do it naked. Let's be honest. I'd do it naked. Someone pay me $1 million, I'd straight up forge naked right now. $1 million. I would be naked in a kilt. See-through kilt. Okay? $1 million cash money right now
careful.
would do it.
We might be skirting demonetization right now.
I don't care. Again, I'll shill hard for that $1 million, fine. Because you know why? People say, well, money don't solve problems. Well, money solves a lot of this guy's problems. Money puts boards on that wall there so I don't freeze when the north wind mistress blows through and I don't have to stand in snow anymore, right? Money solves a lot of Roy's problems. Does it get my soul into heaven? No, it don't. Jesus does that. But it could keep the rain off my head with my little skylight holes I can see in my roof, right? So any one of you where you're like, these people, and you make it a moral argument about sales, make it an immoral thing to ask for what you're worth. Just remember that you yourself, your job that you hold, I don't care whether you work at the local Dairy Queen or you work at some plant or you're some industrial welder or you're some whatever, you are a byproduct of a lot of shilling. So enjoy that thought. And there's probably so much anger going on in the comment section right now.
Paul's garage, split the $1 million with me and I'll join you right now.
We'll do a dual nude stream. I'll split it with you. Fine, 500 grand. I'm not proud. I'm not proud. I'm proud of what the Lord gave me. I'm willing to work with it.
Roger Caldwell said, I'm an outside salesman for an auto parts company, 45 years worth. Truer words were never spoken. Great job, Roy.
Schiller! We found the biggest shill on the face of the planet. He's trying to help people buy cars. So there's people who manufacture cars have jobs. Terrible. People get weird about this when they get on comment, and I've just seen it. I've seen it around comment sections. I've seen people make claims about other companies or businesses, and like, how dare they? It's all nonsense and ignorance is what it is, that we live in a capitalistic society. That's what we live in. We live in a capitalistic world. Whether you want to agree with it or not, whether you believe in it or not, makes no difference. We work in that. That's how this whole cookie crumbles. You didn't get fat without somebody marketing to you that ho-hos and ding-dongs were a great thing to eat. Come eat at Golden Corral, all you can eat. Shills. They're shilling food. Their food ain't that great, let's be honest. No one went to Golden Corral today, ever in the course of history and say, oh, God, that was some good eating. No, you go, oh, that was some good eating. Yeah, no, that's what actually happens. No one ever goes in there and says, you know what? Man, that steak they served, that was definitely not rat. No, nobody does. You go to Golden Corral because it's cheap. The announcer said that it was all you could eat, and he said, really? Show me where. And you went to Golden Corral to eat. Somebody shilled that. Your vehicle, you drive down the road, was shilled to you. The phone that you're watching this on was shilled to you. The computer screen, the TV that you don't need was shilled to you at some point in time. Your very home was shilled to somebody, and then they shilled it to you to buy it from them if you didn't have it built. The contractor shilled you, and to think it shilled to you to say, hey, you need to have a big picture window because, you know, you won't be able to see birds outside if you don't have a big picture window. I don't know, go outside. You didn't need that extra $12,000 picture window. But he shilled it to you, you bought it, and then once you sell your place, somebody else will buy it. Because you're going to say, hey, look at this overpriced picture window I got charged for. See? Ain't it great? Who's the shill now? Who's the shill now? That's a big rant, huh?
That is.
That's a bigger rant.
Eric says, Golden Corral, Grandpa's favorite place. I don't think his taste buds worked.
No, they don't. They don't serve great food. Because when that boogery kid comes up there that just had his nose his finger stuck up his nose, and he swirled it around in that mashed potato or that coleslaw of yours, it's not great food. It's not great food, but it's relatively cheap, and you get to eat a lot of it. We get to pig out, so it's a great place to go. Watch the cords, bud. Watch. Big steps. Thank you. And we're almost ready for this last heat.
All right.
Sorry, the blower has been giving me fits on this one. I should have just left the big blower hooked up. But hindsight, 2020, we would have been done with this thing already if it wasn't for the blower not putting out enough heat here. Questions, Jess? Comments?
Harold Hoshkison said he would buy a board to help to keep your clothes on.
Yeah, he'd buy a board to help keep my clothes on.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Oh. No, you know, it comes back because I get this all the time being on YouTube, right? Because there's the hustle on YouTube. You know, at the end of the day, I need my lights to stay on. I need the cameras to be able to be replaced when I need to replace them. I need to buy up the extra storage for the hard drive space to have all those thousands of illustrious YouTube videos to sit on, just in case, like, I don't know, I was deleted someday and I need to re-upload everything, like has happened to other channels. You know, the hustle is like, this is a community supported thing. And so, you know, there's merch, there's the membership wall, right? There's tools now, there's blacksmithing blanks we sell. We do a little bit of everything. I have artwork that I sell and I work for private clients and things. There's a whole big menagerie of stuff that goes on with all of that. And you don't have to buy any of it. But it's going to get marketed to you one way or the other because it's the way it is. It's the way it is. I get it all the time. I actually just had one guy trolled me on this, and I just didn't feel like it, so I ended up blocking him. That's because he went across, copy and paste across 5 videos that were done 3 years ago, long before I had a plasma bed, and was calling me a scam artist because I sell the blanks of the video that I did 3 years ago before I had a plasma bed. And so you come back through and trying to call me a shill and a scam artist because of whatever. Yeah, so what? Who cares? Don't buy a blank if you don't want to buy a blank. If you want to be a snob, you want to say, I'm so good. I'm so good. I can take and build, I can, forge out a plate out of a big 5-inch square bar. I'll just forge out a plate and then I'll cut my little ornament out of that. Go right ahead. Waste your own dang time and life on that. I'm not going to feel sad. I won't lose any more sleep at night. But it's just the way it's just the way the world works. And before Roy was a shill, there was other shills out there in the blacksmithing space. Because we're all shills. That's the way it works. Big rant, over. Flatter drop.
Jeremiah Johnson
That
says,
actually
but
landed
Roy,
flat, by the way. What's up?
Jeremiah Johnson says, but Roy, you're so good.
So good at what? Shilling?
Yep. Mountain Home Forge says, how many boards do we need to buy to see Roy in a kilt?
How many what? Boards?
How many boards, yeah.
10,000 boards. Because that's about how many it's going to take. It actually won't take 10,000 boards, but I'm just telling you that because I don't want to wear a kilt.
Castle Rock, Roy did answer the question a little earlier about getting a fly press.
Yep.
What size he recommends?
Yeah, number 6 fly press if you're going to do any forging with it. Number 6 and up if your plans on using it like a press for bigger chunks of material. If you're going to do chasing tools or things like that, smaller work, punching holes and stuff like that, you can get away with a smaller fly press. All right, let's go to the anvil.
All
Boom.
right.
Go for it. Whoa. Here we go. Getting closer. We can see how we're starting to get a bit of a swell on the end. That needs to be redressed so that this way we can keep pushing the mass where it needs to go. There we go. We're gonna let that heat up and then cool down slowly. And that will be a subject for another time. I can take a few more questions and then we should probably call it quits for the evening.
All right.
So, like I said, the blower is fighting me this evening. I apologize. I didn't want to run the bigger blower I got because it's very loud. I wouldn't be able to hear Jess at all ask me questions if I was running that. So I'll try to get the blower fixed up better before next live stream clearly, so that won't be an issue. Because if you think I'm yelling now, I'd really be yelling if I had the other blower running.
Bill Wheel says 10,000 boards is a lot cheaper than $1 million.
Not now. Oh.
Let's see, Manga 12 says, who is the striker tonight?
The striker is Thomas Goodymoot, the illustrious hand model. Although he is like now a face model too, because you'll see him in a lot of videos. Upcoming. But go ahead, Thomas, introduce yourself. I'm gonna go check on something real quick.
Yeah.
Introduce yourself.
Well, hi everyone. Thomas Goodymoot here. If you guys haven't already known a little bit of my backstory here, met up with Roy about last year, was it?
A year
Jess?
ago. Mm-hmm.
Came over. I'm a farrier, and I was happened to be trimming their pastor's horse, and I was like, well, where can I get some Coke at? The pastor was like, Thomas now. And I was like, no, Coke for blacksmithing. And it just happened to be that Roy and Jess go to his church, and had a chance to meet Roy and Jess, and I just happened to process a pig up, and I came over bearing gift, and was kind of like, I just introduced myself and hung out with Roy a little bit. I'm not that far. As the crow flies, I'm like 6 miles away. And it was a great beginning to a friendship. I get a wonderful chance to come out here and work in the winter because I do excavation work in the summer. So if you guys are watching any videos come this summer, you probably won't see me too much. I'll try to do a little bit better on coming on some of the lives. But me and Roy have some videos that we're going to be putting out coming up, and should be a great time. And we definitely enjoy you guys coming out and supporting the channel and watching us. And take a longer time making a tool, but we're fighting a little bit of air tonight, but hopefully next time we come in, then it'll be a lot better. So Roy's back. I don't have to keep talking.
Oh, come on, Thomas. It's something you're good at.
We all know Thomas can talk. Talking to a camera is different.
Hey, granddads.
So, there's Thomas. Probably more than you wanted to know about the fella, but now you know. Now, for those of you who don't know, Thomas has been helping me out in the shop while he's been waiting for his job to get back into order. He does the septic. I don't know if you've talked about that a little bit. So right now he's furloughed on that, and so he's been helping me, be an extra help in the shop working. That's why we were able to push out new products like those guillotine tools and stuff like that, because I've had the help to be able to do the extra cutting and grinding and all that extra good stuff on top of there. So he's been learning well and working real good. So what else, babe? Good?
Yeah, Possum Sausage says he's back. Rob Huff. Oh, you finally made it, Rob. Says,
Hey, Rob!
I have a spare electric blower, fairly quiet. I can send you one if that's what's needed.
Who said that?
Rob Huff.
Rob Huff? Yeah, if you got a spare electric one, if you want to send it, that's better than me having to go buy one. I don't know what's wrong with this one. It's just not putting out the CFM that it once did. It could just be dirty. It could be tight. It needs to be oiled. I don't know. But yeah, I'm not going to turn it down. So I like free things or cheap things. He probably wasn't offering it for free. He's like, that'll be $175. Extra quiet blower.
Corey Shire says, hey, Thomas, I'm jealous of you there. I've been wanting to be Roy's shop minion for years. If you mess up, I'll drive that 3,000 miles to replace you.
Well, there you go, Thomas. Remember that.
Okay, stay on your toes.
Now.
You're replaceable. You're replaceable. So.
He also says, I'm curious, Roy, whatever happened to the very ornate shop apron you used to wear with your logo on it?
I still have it. It's just cold here in northern Michigan. So I don't know if you may see my breath on screen or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've just been taking, I'm a weakling. I'm wearing insulated bibs because they're warmer. I don't know how I made it for the first 2 years here without insulated bibs, because this particular winter was cold, real cold. I've had to put a lot of days out here. So I'm looking forward to some spring temps, low 40s, right? Low 40s, high 50s. Get into those type temps, you'll see the bibs come back out again, because I have been missing them. I long for them. They're hanging up on a rack right over there. Great question, though.
Tim O'Connor sent a $2 super chat, says, Thomas's Snack Fund.
Thomas's Snack Fund.
Greatly appreciated. Thank you.
He said, greatly appreciated.
JD says, what's the current temperature?
I don't know. You know what the current temperature of my anvil is? Cold. Still,
Probably about 24 degrees.
I don't know. It
It was 36 earlier.
yeah, it's probably 28, 27, somewhere in there. Feel that Hardy hole? Feel Olga's hole? Not warm in the least bit. Let that be a lesson to all you anvil preheaters out there. Not needed.
Christopher Conkright says, I have a closed guillotine tool, but I may order the C-shaped one for long stock. I think my dies will fit both.
That's awesome. So if you're wondering about the dies, the C-frame dies, they are 5/8 inch thick by 1.5 inch wide. The enclosed die guillotine tool for $50 that we have as a kit, it is a 1/2 inch thick die by 1.5 inch wide. So it's slightly smaller in all dimensions basically, but we can offer it at a cheaper price. So all you gotta do is weld her together and up and going you go. What else?
I think that has most of the questions answered.
That
If you
caught
want-
everybody up?
Yeah, if you'd
Good.
like, I don't have a poem, but I have a little story called The King of Craftsmen that I can read.
Ooh,
to
so
close.
Jessica's going to close this out with
time.
another story time. So, all right, well, with that being said, since this is going to wait till the next forging session, I'll just mention this real quick. What we have done is we're just going to let this cool down naturally and, basically just normalize itself. And then we'll pick this up in the next live stream that we do. We'll go ahead and work on this a bit more and, finish it off. It's really not that far now. We've just about got that shoulder pushed up further enough and just about ready to go ahead and turn this into a proper, hot cut tool. So I'm going to set that off to the side of the fire and let that just lay out and just kind of cool down naturally. And then we'll pick that up again. So thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you for listening to all my shilling spews and my rants and all that other good stuff. I had a good time, really did. Thank you, Thomas, for being here, hammering away. Oh,
Thanks everybody for coming on out.
yep. And without further ado, I will let Jessica close down the stream with her story. How's that
All
sound?
right, sounds good.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. God bless you, and have a great evening.
This story is called The King of Craftsmen, and I found it on Anvil Fire. And this is how it goes. The story is told that many years ago, the King of England had all the guild masters of the various guilds to dinner at the palace. During dinner, a violent argument broke out concerning which craft was most important and which craftsman should be known as King of Craftsmen. The king ordered silence, and at once all were quiet. He said, "There can only be one king, and I am he. But I will decide which is the most important craft and permit the leader of the guild hall for that craft to be seated at my table with me, and he shall be known as the King of Craftsmen." He ordered all of the guild masters to stand on one side of the banquet hall. Calling them to the throne one at a time, he questioned each, then sent them to the opposite side of the hall from those he had not yet questioned. He ordered his sergeant-at-arms to immediately strike off the head of any who spoke except in answer to the question from the king. The first craftsman he spoke with was the carpenter. The king asked what he made. The carpenter told the king that he made all things of wood, houses, wagons, wheels, looms, and so on. The king asked where he got his wood. The carpenter said that he went to the forest and cut down the trees with an axe, then brought the logs to a shop where he used other tools to cut the wood down to size and shape it. The king then asked where he got his tools, and the carpenter answered that he got them from the blacksmith. The second craftsman was a weaver. The king asked the same question he had asked of the carpenter and got similar answers. When the king asked the weaver where he got his tools, the weaver said that he got them from the blacksmith. The third craftsman was a potter. When the king questioned him, he admitted that he too got his tools from the blacksmith. By this time, the king had noticed the trend, so he questioned all of the craftsmen except for the blacksmith. Each answered that yes, he got his tools from the blacksmith. Finally, the king called the blacksmith to the throne. When he asked the blacksmith where he got his tools, the blacksmith answered that he made them himself, for no one else could make tools for the working of iron. At that point, the king called the guild masters back to the throne. He announced that he had made his decision. since the blacksmith was the only craftsman who did not have to obtain his tools from someone else, but made them for himself, that henceforth and forevermore the blacksmith would be known as the king of craftsmen, and would be the only craftsman permitted to wear a fringe upon his work apron. For by the hammer in hand do all crafts stand. Very fitting for the live stream, huh? Since you're making a tool. So thank you everyone for joining us. We hope you have a wonderful and a safe weekend, and we will catch you in 2 weeks on our next live stream.